And that's the memo. Now for the top story tonight. President Bush toured the fire-damaged areas of California today with Governor Schwarzenegger, and it looks like the worst is over. Authorities have arrested 2 men on arson charges. A third suspect shot dead by the cops after he rammed his truck into a police vehicle. On the political front, the debate over the disaster continues. As we reported last night, some are trying to make it a Bush-Iraq deal. Others, like radical left comedian George Carlin, are blaming the victims.
People are selfish, and that's what they're doing, is trying to save the planet for themselves to have a nicer place to live. They don't care about the planet in theory. They just care about having a comfortable place. And these people with the fires and the floods and everything, they overbuild, they put nature to the test, and they get what's coming to them.
Wow. Joining us now from Philadelphia, Dr. Marc Lamont Hill, who teaches at Temple University, and from Atlanta, Shannon Goessling from the Southeastern Legal Foundation. Shannon, I'll begin with you.
Thanks, Bill.
Jamie Lee Curtis said something much gentler about the houses, and they went up and all of that, the ecological viewpoint. Carlin, very harsh. What say you?
I have 3 quick remarks. 1, I love George Carlin. He's a hysterical comedian. But 2, private property owners have a right to pay their taxes, build according to code, and we should not kick people when they're down. Number 3, there is a natural tension between nature and man. And the fact is that where people build, you can't build where there isn't going to be a conflict with nature. 50% of our population lives within 20 miles of the ocean, floods and tornadoes, and in the southeast, you have hurricanes. So nature is in natural tension, and for him to suggest that you want the cities to disappear, unindustrialized countries are subjected to these natural disasters as well.
Okay.
So let's not kick our neighbor while they're down.
What about the decorum of the debate here? Because it's 3 days since I think 3 are dead now, directly for the flames. 2 were found dead today in their home. For Carlin to go on an entertainment program and say that, I don't get offended easily. I was offended by that presentation. If I had been on that dais, he would have had a problem. What do you think, Shannon?
You're right. And what his remarks don't apply to is the fact that man was responsible. Criminal acts were committed and resulted in people losing their homes.
I don't mind the point of view that some people are selfish and they're building in dangerous areas. But if you look at the bulk of the homes that were destroyed, they're not in dangerous areas, Doctor.
Right.
They're in suburban San Diego, in areas that you would live in if you were out there. I would live in if I were out there. And Carlin gets this big blanket and he nails people when they're down. It's wrong.
Well, I do find something problematic about beating up on people while they're being victimized. Nevertheless, his fundamental point, and I think it's the same point that Jamie Lee Curtis brings up, and that is that these people are the authors of their own despair and their own frustration. Not entirely, but when you continue to build property close to shorelines and you continue to build property in areas that are continually struck by hurricanes and other natural disasters, you're egging nature on, and that's something that doesn't have to happen. I do want to add, though, Bill, that this idea of beating up on the victim and kicking victims when they're down, I wish I heard that same outrage when we talk about Katrina or Gina or any of these other
I'm glad
incidents.
you brought that up, Doctor, because we did hear that same outrage. And here's what... And
not across the board, Bill.
Whoa. Here we go, because I have an interesting soundbite. I commented on Katrina, and I'm going to play the soundbite in a second. I was nailed by the dishonest smear left-wing websites. I was nailed in a dishonest way, Doctor. And I didn't tell a doctor to bring this up, by the way. Roll the tape. The lesson here and the moral of the story is that if you rely on the government for anything, you're likely to be disappointed. No government can protect you from danger or provide you with a decent living. You must provide for yourself in a country of 300 million people.
Yeah, and Bill, I'd like to respond
to that.
No,
I just want to tell everybody.
In the interest of equal time, I just want to respond really quickly and say that, Bill, I don't believe that I think in the sense that is kicking the victim while they're down. To say that the ultimate problem is that they failed to protect themselves when it's the government's fundamental responsibility to protect its most vulnerable members is to kick them while they're down.
Well, no, I wasn't kicking.
Wait a minute.
Shannon, hold up. Okay. I got to deal with the doctor here, and then I'll get back to you. Listen, doctor, I didn't say anything about the poor victims. All I said was if you, an American citizen of any stripe, are going to depend on the federal government to protect you, you're going to be let down.
That's what the government's supposed to do.
That's true. The government's supposed to do the best job it can do.
But it didn't.
But it cannot,
and that's where I want to see the outrage.
Well, that's fine. That's another debate.
No, but I'm saying that's where the outrage should be directed.
Self-reliance, doctor, is the name of the game in this country. It's the name of the game. Now, I didn't kick anybody when they were down. I made a point that everybody has to be self-reliant because that's the best way to protect themselves. To depend on the government is ridiculous because the government can't protect 300 million people. It can't. It might want to, but it can't, no matter what Hillary Clinton said. Go ahead. No, Shannon, go ahead, and I'll give you the last word, Doctor.
This is classism at the worst because it's the people in California's fault that they had a fire, but it's the government's fault that there was a hurricane in New Orleans. That's absurd.
No, it's the government's fault that they failed to respond in a timely manner. There's no reasonable person in this world that thinks that FEMA responded in responsible fashion. Even the Bush administration.
Well, that's a legitimate point.
Right.
The government didn't do what it should.
Exactly.
But look,
Except
here's the deal.
You're going to criticize President Bush for going and checking on California.
When did I do that?
To how we expect to have a president.
When did I do that? I don't believe I've said that.
I got to wrap that up. You didn't say it, but others did. And we're going to actually deal with that in a little while with Bernie and Jane. But look, the bottom line on this is Carlin was wrong because he made it a specific criticism toward people who bought houses, and a lot of those people bought houses in regular neighborhoods. They weren't in a canyon. So he's a pinhead. And the self-reliance deal, the most important thing in America today. Shannon, Doctor, always a pleasure to see you. Next on the Rundown.